Hey, what's up? Glad to be here. In this video, I want to tell you about this theory I have about consciousness. It's not super deep, but I thought it was pretty cool, so I'll share it with you guys today. So I just thought about this the other day. So this is the model. So in my experience, whenever I meditate or whenever I'm doing anything, this is my experience of consciousness and of how thoughts enter my consciousness. So the most recognizable part of the consciousness that we're all familiar with is this one right here, active thoughts. So what are active thoughts? These are the thoughts that are basically what you're trying to think about. So if you're trying to solve a math problem, you're thinking about how do I solve this math problem, and then thoughts come to your mind related to that math problem and solving it. In particular, the methods in which you were employing to try to solve that math problem in this particular example. So as you can see, it says here that these thoughts originate in the part of the consciousness that we are aware of. And then I'll just go through each part of this diagram first, and then I'll go into how they work together, although you can kind of get the gist of the idea just by reading it. So next is the passive thoughts. So these are the thoughts that originate in the subconscious of the mind. So let's stick with the same example. Let's say you're trying to solve a math problem and you have some random unrelated thoughts. That's basically the types of thoughts that are just generated from your subconscious. You don't know where they came from, but they came from a part of your brain somewhere, and that part is the subconscious, and we don't really understand it. We barely have scratched the surface of it. Most of us really, including myself, barely know our subconscious mind, although we know our conscious mind quite well. So then here I've defined focus as a train of thought, or just where you direct your attention, basically, because your brain will kind of conjure thoughts automatically depending on what you're thinking about. Your brain's going to conjure up thoughts automatically, right? So now I'll get into why I defined it as this and how this model works together. So we can have these active thoughts and we can have these passive thoughts, and then we can't totally have control over our thoughts because these passive thoughts are always going to generate the passive, not the passive, I guess the wrong word to use, the subconscious part of your brain is always going to generate random thoughts which are going to pop up in your head. Now, we can't control these thoughts, nor can we prevent them from happening. But what we can do is we can filter the thoughts that we pursue, that our train of thought will continue with. We can filter the types of thoughts that we're having, and through doing that, that's how we achieve focus on something. So, sticking with the same example for the sake of simplicity, we're trying to solve a math problem, or you're trying to solve a math problem. Your active thoughts are pertain to that math problem. Then you have some random thoughts like, I don't know, I want to have a burrito or something like this, or I'm bored. That's a really common one, right? When somebody is working or trying to do something that is not necessarily the most short-term gratifying. So they have that thought, and then they have two options from that point. They either pursue that thought, so like, okay, I'm hungry, I'm gonna go get a burrito, and they go up and get a burrito, and maybe they even forget about working totally, they just get totally sidetracked. And then the other option is to filter that thought, where you have the thought and you can't prevent yourself from having the thought, but you can prevent yourself from putting your focus on that thought any farther than you have to. For example, like, I'm bored. Oh well, like, just acknowledge the thought and just let it go. Or I want to have a burrito. That's fine, I'll eat in half an hour. I'll just finish working on this thing first. So that's how I think basically that we focus. That's my understanding of it. And basically how I kind of came to this, how do I call it, this diagram, how I came up with this diagram, and the experiences that led me to creating this simple diagram was just meditation, because through meditation you observe your mind, you observe how your mind works. I would highly recommend anybody to meditate. I've made some videos on meditation in the past. They're easy to check out if you're interested in the subject. I basically made some basic guides on meditation, but I think that this is a very useful model. I hope that you will find it useful. Because focusing on something is as simple as that. It's just like filtering the thoughts that you don't want out of your head, so that you can just focus on the thoughts that are actually going to be useful to you in that moment. Now, there are a lot of tips on like getting rid of procrastination and on becoming more productive, and I will make videos on those things in the future. But for now, that's all for this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe down below. Have a good one.